Welcome to the Best Belief podcast, where we get unstuck and go through struggles in real time to show you that even though I struggle and am not perfect, with faith, intention, tips, and guidance, best believe you'll reach your vision. And don't be overwhelmed. I'm here to show you there's purpose in your pain, and when you fall, I'll remind you that you are a warrior and you will get back up no matter what season you're in. You aren't alone. Best believe we are going to get through this together. Not gonna lie, you guys, it has been a tough few days, and thank you for tuning into the Best Believe podcast. I'm your host, Michaela, and as you can see, I'm not in the best mood, and I decided not to allow that to keep me from showing up today, to show you that I'm still walking in it, even though it's hard, even though I didn't want to show up. And I say that it's been hard because I feel like the devil is just coming for me. And for example, 2 nights ago, I had my sister here and she was staying the night, and it was like one of the best nights ever because I love my little sister and we've never been able to spend the night together, or like because I just haven't been here. I left for college when she was like 3 years old, so I was very excited to have that relationship. And while I was with her, before we came home, I was showing her music that I listen to now, like Christian faith-oriented music. And I don't even like saying Christian because I'm not religious. I just believe in God and I have a relationship with God and I do what He needs me to do. But that's not the point of the story. We went to Kroger and I had this urge on my heart to tell this man that God loves you, and I didn't do it. And I really didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it at all. And as I drove off, the urge or the fire inside of me kept igniting to get it done. And I usually don't ignore it. And at this moment, I did ignore it and I drove off. But because it wouldn't go away, I started to feel sick to my stomach. And so I did a whole U-E and yelled out my car window that God loves you to this man, and the devil did not want me to do that, obviously. And I'm so thankful I listened because I felt immediately better after I did that. And whenever I got home, my sister and I were sitting watching TV, and all of a sudden my TV falls off the mount, lands flat on the fireplace, and my mouth just dropped, honestly. I didn't really know what to say. My first initial thought was you know what? I'm willing to not have anything. The devil can try to take whatever he wants because my faith is still here. But in that moment, I was kind of not embarrassed, but because me and my sister were kind of laughing about it, because I know that I'll be able to get a new TV. It's replaceable. No one was hurt. But I just knew it was an attack from the devil. And I told her that because there's no reason why my TV that was mounted securely to fall off of the wall. And I hadn't touched my TV since it was mounted. So it was he literally unscrewed it himself and it just fell off. And I know people whose faith aren't strong, they'll be well, your TV just wasn't mounted well enough. Okay, that's not true. It was 100% mounted very well because of my faith and because I know what greatness I have within me, and because of all the previous attacks that he's had on me. I knew it came from the devil, and I couldn't use my TV anymore. It looked a hot mess. I can't even describe it, but the whole screen shattered. It pulled apart from whatever. I don't even know how to explain it, but however you make a TV, it's gone. You can't use it anymore. And like I said, initially I was okay about it, but then over time as the night went on, I was kind of like bummed out because I'm like, dang, like my sister just had to see that, and it kind of upset me. But I kept my faith strong, I kept my spirits high, and I immediately turned to how grateful I was, and I went into the bathroom by myself, and I rebuked the devil, and I prayed, and I felt better. And today, why I'm so upset, it's because I was about to record this episode, and I just knew that the devil did not want me to talk about this because he doesn't want us to seek solitude. He wants us to seek other things. And it was like all of a sudden my electricity turned off, and I just started bawling, crying because I was so frustrated. And I'm just like, wow, like the attacks just keep coming. And I know I have to stay strong and keep my faith because there's nothing else that I can do in that situation. And it's like, I don't have the money. I'm pretty broke right now. And a lot of the things that I do every single day, like I don't see that return right away, and I know it's coming, but it's still hard to get through. And so I'm not in the best spirits. But I know for a fact it's going to get better, and I believe that. So that's why I'm still here showing up no matter how I feel, to show you that it's not going to always be days where you're having the best day and smiling. And sometimes your day can start off so amazing. Like today, I felt so good waking up. I felt so good working out. And then it's like, boom, the whole day can turn. But it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. And after that happened, I didn't go calling my friends. I went to seek solitude, to speak to God, to tell him how I was feeling, because I didn't know what else to do in that moment. But I knew that the only thing that would make me feel better was relying on him to get me through this moment. So that's why today we're talking about loneliness to seeking solitude. And earlier this week, I really felt it on my heart to discuss loneliness, but I didn't want to at all because I knew that this was going to be an easy but hard subject to talk about. And when I started having those thoughts of, God, I don't want to do this, he started giving me confirmations that I needed to do it. One was my friend talking about how she was seeking other things to make her feel good on the inside. Another was I was talking to a different friend and she said the word loneliness. And I'm like, okay, I guess I really need to talk about this. And then I watched a show with my sister, and the second I looked up, the title came up and it had the word loneliness in it. And the last thing is I called one of my friends and told him that I wanted to talk about loneliness on the podcast episode. And he's someone who really guides me on my journey and helps keep my mind clear. And he's someone I reach out to after I talk to God because he's one of the only few people that I know actually lives in Christ. And so I talked to him and I brought up how I wanted to discuss loneliness, but I told him how I didn't want to discuss loneliness, but God keeps showing me confirmations, and he basically brought up like, wow, I'm so happy you said that because that's what I'm really struggling with right now. And so here I am showing you how to get from lonely to seeking solitude. And most people on the verge of greatness give up 3 feet before they get to their breakthrough. So let's say that's dreams, your greatness, your happiness, especially when you feel like you're alone or that nobody has your back. And know that the enemy wants us to give up, but we got to keep pushing and not be paralyzed by our mind, not be paralyzed through our actions, and know that we can't rely on our own strength and that we need him to lean on when we fall. And when you feel like you can't get back up, imagine him reaching his hand out and pulling you up. And that's exactly what I did today. And I know that I am on the verge of a breakthrough because I was speaking to my friend Laura yesterday as we had our mastermind. And I'm like, look, God told me I'm going to be a millionaire this year. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I have a clear vision of the things that I need to do to get there. And sometimes we have to think, and sometimes we have to make a plan, and that's exactly what I did. And I have a layout of the things that are going to get me to be a millionaire this year. But it's more than just being a millionaire to me. I want to have a bereavement fund for you guys so that when you're broke, when you randomly can't pay rent, when you randomly can't pay your bills, you randomly can't buy groceries, I want to be able to give back and give you money to do those things. Because sometimes you're not deep within a church to be able to apply for those funds. And like, I want to be the support system for you guys. So it's like, I have to make this happen, not just for me, but for you. So let's get into this episode. Let me stop getting too much of my feelings. And if I do, like, just know I'm having a hard day. So just give me some grace. So, what does loneliness look like? And I say that this is easy but difficult to talk about because the things that help remove the feeling of loneliness are easy to do and easy not to do. But by the end of this episode, I want you to understand solitude and I want you to be satisfied in it. And I want you to know that you're not going to be stuck in it forever, that there is a time and a season for it. And what really like helps me move forward is knowing that not only is the Holy Spirit inside of us, but he's on the outside of us. Growing up, we deal with flesh. So when we convert to the spiritual world, that only comes by faith. If we seek things, seek flesh, aka people, for comfort and loneliness, God is going to remove it from us, or the enemy will make it harder for you to let those things go or people go, like drugs, like alcohol, like sex. And I really want to explain what seeking other people to fulfill wholeness looks like to me and things that have happened to me and what I've done in the past. And if you hear Milo snoring, please ignore it. I have tried to get him to move so many times, but he knows I'm upset, so he's laying right next to me. Hey, wake up. In the past, I would allow myself to communicate or be around the presence of another man just because I wanted a hug, which I've told you that before. I wanted to cuddle, and I knew that momentarily it would make me feel better. But after they left, I felt more alone than before. And it made me realize that I don't even know that person really. And then when I thought that they would respond to me in a certain way after hanging out with them and they didn't respond how I wanted them to or thought that they would, I would seek even more temporary comfort, which left me feeling worse than before. So it's kind of like a cycle. And it's like a domino effect. Like one thing doesn't work, so you try something else. And some may do that to feel loved, to be held, etc. And that's exactly what I did. Another example, when I was in Seattle, one of my best friends, I used to call him consistently. And he's someone that comes from a very troubled past. And I've always been that guy to help him improve his life. And somehow he got caught up in a situation with a girl who lied on him, and she got him arrested. And even though he was arrested, she wrote like a letter telling the court that they lied, but still kept him there. And so I was really upset because I was forced into solitude. And I didn't want to talk or call anyone else about what was going on because I didn't want to have to explain to someone from the beginning why I was feeling the way I was feeling. And it's like all of a sudden I didn't have him to talk to. So I remember going to the water and crying my eyes out because I'm like, God, what am I supposed to do now? And I did exactly what he wanted me to do, call on him. But in that moment, I didn't even realize that I was really just calling because it was my last option. And that's definitely not my last option now. That's my first. Another example, some may have too many people to call. I remember even a few months ago, I wanted to call and vent to my friends, and nobody was answering, which forced me into solitude again. And that really made me realize that I really should be talking to God and venting to Him instead of relying on other people to handle my emotions or even work through what I'm dealing with, because I have to know that other people are also dealing with other things, and some may not be able to mentally handle at a capacity of what I'm going through. And I know that people have their own issues, so it's like, why am I adding more on their plate? Another example, I used to always be around people in the flesh when I was in the house, and they filled up a lot of space. And even when I was surrounded by those two people consistently, I still felt alone because my heart wasn't whole. And I was battling with so much internal pain that no one could necessarily see, because I still showed up online. I still inspired people, but I was just like so broken, and I felt like incomplete. My heart was broken. And back then, I didn't know how to ask for help or even realize I was lonely until like I look back and I see what I used to try and do to complete my wholeness. And I really want to encourage you to take inventory and see what loneliness looks like to you. What does loneliness look like in your life? That's what loneliness looks like in my life in the past. And so I'm going to give you some things that have helped me practice how to start moving out of loneliness. And the first thing is going to be self-acceptance, really learning who you are and taking the time to know yourself and really allowing yourself to be comfortable spending time with you. And self-acceptance is knowing your value, embracing your past. But in order to embrace your past, you must learn to forgive yourself for whatever you allowed to happen, for whatever previous actions you took, for however you responded, and use that as a part of your fuel to keep moving forward. I want you to forgive yourself because God has already forgiven you. Number 2, being present. I know we talked about this last week, but this is really important to moving out of loneliness. And that's learning how to still your mind and focus on the present and actually like being in the moment when you're doing things. So like if you are having alone time with yourself and with God, are you sitting there worrying about the future? Because God says not to worry about anything. Don't worry about anything. Don't have anxiety about anything. With prayer, petition, and thanksgiving, He will answer our prayers. Number 3, quiet time, conversing with Him. I really want to paint a picture of what it looks like for me. And this picture was kind of painted from my friend Laura. She told me, like, have you watched Elf? Did you see him sitting in the chair with his hands? I don't remember exactly, but I'm explaining how I took it. So, because I've seen Elf. I don't know if you've seen Elf. But I'm just imagining God sitting right next to me, Jesus sitting right next to me looking at me with excitement and just being a listening ear for me to talk to. And when people aren't answering, when people aren't able to hang out, they become upset and feel lonely. And instead of turning on the TV, I really want you to spend time in stillness. Really allow yourself to take inventory on what it is you truly need in that moment. And what happens when I have alone time? I realize that it truly gives me relaxation. It allows me to hear the business ideas that God's giving me. And not only that, it reminds me of what I've been through, which allows me to feel so grateful. And that's exactly what happened today when I relied on him. I spent some quiet time instead of turning on music like I normally would. I just sat in stillness and allowed myself to be present where I am and realize that while my electricity's turned off, thankfully, thank God, I have a mother who cares about me and gave me the money to cover it. Because not everyone has a mom. Not everyone has a mom that's capable of helping them. And so I'm just very grateful for that. And it's like, I know better days are coming. I do start a job next week. And that gives me hope. And sometimes you may not have that hope that you can see right in front of you, but that's why we have to walk by faith and not by sight. And number 4, asking for what you need and conversing with him, because he speaks back to you if you take the time to ask and listen. This week, or last week, however you want to put it, I asked God, I'm like, God, what is wrong with me? I know I shouldn't ask you this, and I really don't believe anything's wrong with me, but I'm going to ask you anyway because I don't know how else to move forward unless I ask you this. And he responded. He literally said, okay, let me stop saying literally. He said to me, nothing is wrong with you, Michaela. Everything is right with you, and that's why the devil keeps attacking you. And in that moment, I just started tearing up because it's like, wow, you actually spoke back to me. And that was like one of the first times I really asked him a question and I had a clear answer. And then yesterday, I left the house and I was on a walk, and it was like squirrels were following me. And this was like the morning after the TV situation happened, and after I told him I didn't want to talk about loneliness. And it's like, I had to really ask him to help me figure out what to say about this episode, because I'm like, God, this is so hard to talk about. I need answers. I need you to tell me what to say. I need your help. And so, like, I don't know if you know, but before I record at all, I ask God to give me the wisdom and give me the right things to say and what to say at the right time. I ask him for wisdom. I ask him for me to be a great vessel to you. And during this walk, I was seeing all these squirrels, and they were like staring at me. It was the creepiest thing. But just recently, I just started talking to animals after I moved from Seattle. Before, I never did that. But, out there, they're a little wild. And I learned a lot of things being out there, and I'm just grateful for all the experiences I had. And it's nothing against people from Seattle. I love Seattle so much. Anyway, that's not the point of this. But what happened is all these squirrels kept coming out to me, and like there's a squirrel like watching me from above, and then it was like 2 squirrels started following me, and then I'm like, okay, let me just go to this trail. So I get on the trail and I call my friend. I'm like, bro, I keep seeing all these squirrels. What does that mean? And then she's like, let me Google it. So she Googles it, and there's so many different answers, right? It's talking about like, it just means I don't even remember what she said, perfection or something. I don't know. It was something that didn't even really make sense, but it was like in a good connotation. So I was like, okay, that's cool, whatever. And then I'm like, you know what? Let me just keep walking, minding my business. So then I keep walking, and it was like three squirrels walk out of the bushes all at once. And they're like sitting straight up, staring at me, walking. And then there's one like hovered in the tree, like staring at me. I'm looking up and I see that one. And I'm like turning my camera phone to show my friend because I'm like, FaceTime you right now. I have to show you this right now. So God gave me a witness. So I got me a witness, if y'all don't believe me, and showed her all the squirrels staring at me. And then I'm like, okay, girl, I gotta go. So then I hang up the phone and I ask God, I'm like, God, why am I seeing all these squirrels? Can you please give me an answer and tell me what this means? And he replied to me. He said that seeing all these squirrels was him showing me that he is always with us, or with me, but I'm going to say us because this is a message for all of us. And even when, let me start over. Or let me read it over to you. Seeing all these squirrels was his way of showing me that he is always with us, even when we can't see him. His spirit will enter another vessel to reach us and to give us faith and hope, and to tell us that we are never alone. And that response really blew my mind, and it made me so grateful that I took the time to ask him, because I did originally ask my friend, who asked Google, who gave us no clue of an answer. And that's just like people when they like want a message from a doctor or a nurse, but they ask Google and then they come up with the fact that they're about to die in 6 months. Like, that is not reliable to go to. And so I'm just so grateful that he showed me that, and I'm so happy that I'm able to tell you what he told me and have a witness to what I saw and what happened to me. I also, like I said, asked him to help me things to address for this episode, and he really spoke to me. I just sat there in solitude. I got on my knees and I put my head down to the floor, and basically in like a bowing down position, I'm like, God, please give me the answers. I need help. And then he started helping me remember all types of things that I could bring up in this episode. Number 5, I want you to check yourself. What yes people can you talk to check you? What yes people can you listen to check you? And so step 1, you're listening to me. I'm checking you. So what's up? And I want you to realize, like, are you going out because you want to have fun? Or is it to bury what's going on? Because if it's to go out to bury what's going on, you won't be able to move forward if you don't deal with it, because it's going to continue to go on in your mind, and it's going to replay in your mind. And the more you push it in, the more you're going to continue to seek other things until you feel that wholeness, and you never will. You got to check yourself and take inventory. And the last thing to help you practice on how to move out of loneliness is creating a relationship with yourself. How can you take care of yourself better? How can you nurture the relationship within you? How can you provide that comfort blanket for yourself that you seek from flesh, that you seek from other people, that you seek from things? And I really want to tell you what it means to seek solitude. For me, it means wanting to be alone. And that really happens when you realize how good it makes you feel and how effective it is. But first, you have to accept you for who you are, or else you cannot truly sit there being alone, because you're going to be tearing yourself down. I remind myself that loneliness is in the eye of the beholder, and you should never feel lonely, because he is always with us, because God is in me and he's outside of me. And I used to feel lonely all of the time. I felt lonely, I would say, a month ago. And I remember texting my accountability partner and being like, look, I feel abandoned, I feel lonely. He sends me a verse that reminds me that I will never be alone. And so I want to give you some transitioning pointers, things that might happen when you are learning to seek solitude, because this is exactly what happened to me. And it was like a forced seeking solitude, which kind of gave you pointers of that before. But what this may look like is like your mind becomes so crowded when you are having that alone time and you don't want to sit in your thoughts. That's when you should talk to him, especially when you don't want to think about the things of your past, especially when you don't want to think about what's going on in your life right now. You want to escape. Talk to him. If you're trying to call 10 people and they all don't answer, that's him telling you to speak to him. If you want to go out, but nobody can go out, or nobody's answering you to go out, that's because he wants you to hang out with him. And I really want to discuss with you how to strengthen that relationship, because God will never be too busy for us. And I really want to tell you how to strengthen that relationship, because God will never be too busy for us. He will respond and give a solution as long as we seek. And just like any relationship, you must nurture it. And a way I nurture it is by fasting. And fasting really helps grow my faith and my dependability on him. And it helps me seek him versus worldly things. Even food is something people seek to get through things emotionally. And I really want to explain to you what fasting is. Fasting is voluntarily abstaining from the things that are holding you back, because we rely on things that have nothing to do with him. And we rely on these things to get us through our day, like having to have coffee, having to smoke, having to get out the house, having to drink that Dr. Pepper. And if you don't want to give it up, it means you're addicted. And I'm doing the Daniel fast. I'm encouraging you to do this with me. I'm starting January 9th. That is next week on Monday. And if you're listening in the future, you can do this anytime. But it normally happens at the beginning of the year. And the Daniel fast is where you remove meat, sweets, or bread, and you drink water and fruits and veggies. But specifically, like how I interpret it, you basically eat things from the ground. So I'll be eating fruits, veggies, whole grains, nuts and seeds, spring water, distilled water, and tofu, because I looked it up and it says soy products are accepted, and that is a way to get some protein. And if you don't want to do that, that's okay. Try the soul fast, which is where you abstain from the things that are causing your life to be out of balance, like social media, vaping, staying up late watching TV, etc. Whatever it is that's holding you back. And that's really how I originally started January 2022. And I have always been like, I'm never doing the Daniel fast. Really never say never, because I'm doing a lot of things I said I would never do. You just got to be open-minded about it and get your mind in the right place. But whenever I first started doing that soul fast, I didn't even know that was like the true name of it. I started to just fast one thing a week, just to start practicing letting go of things and not being so attached to the world. And so at that point in time, I did vape, and I started to let that go, and I gave it up for a week, and I really realized how much I didn't even need it, because I was just addicted to the act of picking up the vape and hitting it and the flavor versus what it was actually doing for me. It really wasn't doing nothing for me but hurting my lungs. And as a nurse, I know how bad those are, and it's like I still did it. But that was just because I was so lonely and I was such in a bad place that I was trying to rely on anything to help me feel better. And at that time, I just said never. I really didn't rely on God at all. So that was me trying to practice letting go. And I hadn't touched it since. And so you'll be surprised how fasting can really have positive benefits on you, like breaking addictions, cleansing your body. But the primary goal is to experience God and remove the I, meaning telling your story in first person, making everything about what you want, what you do or don't want to do, because it's not about him, or it's not about you, it's about him. And trust me, I used to be so hard-headed, so stubborn, being like, I'm not doing it if I don't want to do it. It was I, and that's just not who I am anymore. And I'm finna tell you how to prepare for the Daniel fast. And that's, think about what you want to get out of the fasting. Is it clarity on what you want to do in life? Is it clarity on your vision that you have? Is it clarity on something that you should be doing? Is it to gain more wisdom? Is it to heal? Is it to break addiction? I want you to decide ahead of time how you're going to spend your time to replace what you relied on before. Have that plan B. Well, it's really plan A, but having that plan so that you don't fail. Because when you plan, you don't fail. And that's like the same for like, if you know you're eating healthy and you're going out and you're going to be out all day, like, why don't you plan ahead and pack some snacks, plan ahead and find a restaurant or a fast food place that is actually healthy that you can go to while you're out. And that's how you plan and you don't fail. Another way to prepare is having accountability, which is me, because I'm doing this with you. I'll be posting recipes and going through the 3 weeks as you go. So I guess I will do a countdown. I just decided this as I'm talking right now. So, that's going to be tough. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for y'all. So I'll do like a Daniel fast, like a daily posting video thing about whatever it is I happen to be doing that day. We'll see what it is. But anyway, I'll be posting recipes for sure to help us get through this. When you want those things, when those urges come back, that's when you're supposed to seek Jesus more diligently, resulting in a stronger connection and building that faith to separate you from the dependence of this world. And the quicker you give it a try, the quicker your problems will change. The more you practice, the faster you'll move from lonely to seeking solitude. I want you to breathe and exhale your addiction to the things you seek. The real work starts when you practice every day, which gets you to the point of healing and knowing that God is here when no one else is, and knowing that God loves you when no one else does, knowing that God's got your back when no one else has your back. Know that I have your back as well, but I won't always be there to answer your DM right during that second when you really need me. And so that's why it's always important to seek him first. And my question to you to take along with you for the week is, what are you seeking? How can you take inventory on how you spend time alone? And are those things that you're seeking working for you or against you? Best believe you will soon seek solitude and appreciate your time alone. Thank you for tuning in. I feel so much better, like 1,000 times better after speaking and working through it. This space where I'm able to be vulnerable and just express myself with no judgment. And even if y'all do judge me, I don't get to hear it, so I'm good. And even if I do hear it, like let's say someone sends me a DM talking mess, like that hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure it will come. That's happened to me on my normal page, and I own that, and that's okay. I know that I'm on the verge of a breakthrough, and I know that good things are coming. And just imagine if I let the TV situation break my ability to keep going. Imagine if I let my electricity being off allow me to be paralyzed. Like, instead of freaking out immediately, like, I prayed on it, I talked to him, and I started thinking outside the box and thinking about how can I get myself out of this situation right now? Who can I call? What can I do to improve the situation? And I knew that letting my emotions drive the car would not be good for me. And so I love you guys. thank you so much. I'm going to do a small little celebration because I'm just so thankful that I have this and I have you here to support me. I'm so grateful for you. And I'm pretty sure we're at, I looked this morning, I can't remember right now. Dang. Okay, I remember. It was 674 downloads. We are almost at 700 downloads, and it has not even been a month. That is thanks to you. That is thanks to God. That is because you are writing me reviews, which pushes out the content to other people who need it. And that is also because you're sharing it with your friends. And I'm just so grateful for you guys. Like, I'm so grateful. I could cry again. I might cry when I get off of this. You gonna cry in the car? Y'all probably don't know what that's from. Anyway, love you guys. Have a great day. And I know this is like the middle of the week, but it's because I was truly like thinking so hard about this episode because I really wanted it to be thorough and good and really provide impact on you, because I know I'm gonna like listen to this episode probably like 4 or 5 times. And yeah, so have a great day. Love y'all. Thank you for tuning into the Best Believe podcast. If you love this episode, share it with your friends. Let them know how much you loved it and how much it inspired you to keep moving forward in this journey called life. I'm rooting for you. Let's get in tune with Emmanuel the Prophet, a trap gospel artist that I love. Make sure you tell him I sent you if you love his music, and I'll make sure to drop it in the show notes. Let's get lit.
I put my trust in God and don't put trust in nobody. They in my business trying to see what they can know about me. I keep my distance cause I know they feel like origami. Gotta watch the devil cause he trying to take my soul out me. Oh, when you stay the realest, you gon' make it out. I'm just trying to say the killers before they air it out. I understand I'm from the trenches, coming from the bottom. They won't come to church, religious folks don't care about them. We gotta change, it's time to change, we gotta change now. Set the captives free and break the chains now. We got victory when the devil playing foul. Killing all these demons and the man died. Them shots in my body, I was traumatized. Put my faith in God, I can't idolize. You won't know that pain when your mama cry. I cannot lie. You've been through so much pain that I couldn't believe. I put my trust in the Lord, he showed me great things. Never been the type to follow cause I take lead. Now I'm balling off for Christ, I need a great ring, yeah. I felt that pressure with my back against the wall. When no one there, gotta be the only one I call. I had to change so I can save all of my dogs. They wanna be like me, but they don't know the cost. They killed my cousin and I couldn't even cry. I done seen so much, my heart been broken so many times. Evil thoughts all in my head, but I don't pay it no mind. I talk to God and tell myself that everything gon' be fine. God saved me from my old ways. Switch lanes from the dope game. Suffer from depression, now I'm okay. Now I'm catching blessings cause my soul saved. I had to talk with God cause the mind battles. I put my trust up in